in a little bit. But more things that I wanted to get to. The college football playoff rankings came out, the 12-team college football playoff, what it might look like based on the early returns from the committee. The Buffs came in at 20th. And so while we are focused on the rankings, Deion Sanders, not so much.
Rankings can fool you. It can get you in a situation where you start thinking that you are that. And we don't buy into that. We know who we are. If you don't know who you are by now, something's wrong. If you don't know who the players are by now, something's wrong. So we can't be fooled for that foolishness. That's why I said don't rank us. We better without it. We cool, because I don't want these young men and these coaches and the staff members thinking that you arrived just because you got a number by your team's name. I don't like that whatsoever.
Yeah, I give credit to Deion because he sees the potential I guess trap of this week's game. You know, you've been on a bye. People are saying great things about you. Travis Hunter is flying private jets to Happy Valley to go on game day and big noon kickoff. You can, and then you got to go to Texas Tech. You know, a hungry, good football team, not great football team, but hard-nosed football team out there in West Texas, where they throw tortillas at you during the course of the game. And I can see why he's smart enough to understand, you know, warning, this is a potential trap game, and he's doing his best to guard his team against it. I think it's smart.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the right approach and mindset here when you see you and everyone's doubted you all along. And, you know, could you turn this program around, and then the slow start. And now all of a sudden everyone's patting you on the back. Everyone believes. Everyone's saying how good you are. And you know, can you win the Big 12? Can you make it into the playoff? Look, you're ranked 20th now. And so it's easy to fall in that trap, especially for a young college athlete. So, yeah, I think that's the right approach from Deion.
And as far as the rankings, we are obsessed with the rankings. I get why he doesn't want to make a big deal about it. We, though, are obsessed with it because you got to finish in the top 12, right? And I can't wait to get Klatt on about this because of how closely he follows college football. But I wonder, because the way it's being talked about is that CU needs to win out, including a Big 12 championship game, in order to make the college football playoff. I'm wondering if being able to win out, get to the Big 12 championship game, play really well in the Big 12 championship game might be enough, not necessarily based on merit, but based on the idea that, come on, we know how this game works. The College Football Playoff Committee, they're going to make some selections based on the idea of television ratings, how fan bases travel, all of that. And CU is one of, if not the biggest draw in college football right now. So I wonder if just simply being able to win out, get to the Big 12 championship game, be really, really competitive, maybe lose really close, might still be enough to get you in.
Yeah, I think that's a great question to ask him. And how about this? And this is a little bit maybe more far-stretched. How about what if you win out, Iowa State wins out, and you lose the tiebreaker to them, and Iowa State plays BYU, and BYU wins, and Iowa State loses? Could you still go winning out and being, 10-2?
Yeah.
But you just missed out on the Big 12 championship game, not by really, because you didn't play Iowa State. And I think Alabama kind of took that road last year where they didn't play in the SEC championship game and they still got in because it's Alabama. We've seen it happen before. Could that happen with a team like Deion? Because, to your point, they do have a huge draw nationally, and it is about making money and ratings, and no one's better at it than Deion and Travis and Shador and CU.
That's a great question. Let us bring in our next two outstanding people on this show. First of all, good morning to Mark Schlereth, who I know is just how you feeling right now, Mark, knowing that we've been getting snow here, that you could have easily been out already 2 or 3 times to shovel because we know you're a multi-shoveler. Are you just like tied up in knots right now knowing that you can't be here to shovel snow?
Yeah, and it's 80 degrees in New York today.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be walking around the pavement. You know, I saw 2 rats on my way into work. little Remy just talking to me like it was like a little, and it was great. And I've had a great morning already. So yeah, I would love, love to be shoveling snow. I did, by the way, before I left for New York, set up my snowblower, ran it, put new gas in it, set it all up so my little wifey poo could snow blow the driveway. So,
Wow, Mrs. S is snowblowing the drive. Wow, mad respect. Mad
She's a
yeah,
lady.
man, Mrs. S is tough now. She is a tough lady. Trust me.
Meanwhile, conversely, we've got the guy who just hates winter. I remember mornings that he and I were working here together. It'd be cold, it'd be snowy, it'd be about 5:30. We'd be about 30 minutes into the show, and Joel Klatt would still have his winter hat and gloves on. Good morning, Joel.
Yeah, snow sucks. Like, I don't want to shovel snow. I don't want my wife shoveling snow either. Like, that sounds terrible.
Joel Klatt, presented by Dave & Buster's in Denver. Actually, let's start right there, Joel. I think you guys heard us talking about it. Is there your view of this college football playoff selection committee and what it will take for CU to land a spot in it?
Yeah, they have to win the Big 12. They're not going to. Even at 10-2, there's too much ahead of them. They've got one path and one path only. It is not in their hands. They really need Kansas State to beat Iowa State. That's the easiest and cleanest path to the Big 12 championship. And then they would need to win that game over BYU. They will not be included as a 10-2. They just won't have the marquee wins, and there's too much ahead of them. There's going to be a game, this week, Alabama and LSU. The winner of that game is going to get a huge bump. Texas A&M is going to play Texas. The winner of that game obviously gets a huge bump. We got to think about what we're going to do with a potential 11-1 Indiana, a potential 11-1 Notre Dame. There's just too much ahead of them. So there is a 0% chance that Colorado can get to the playoff without winning the Big 12 championship. But the fact that they're in a position right now into November that there is a clean path towards the Big 12 championship, thus the playoff, is pretty remarkable in and of itself.
Yeah, it really
about-
is, Joel.
Go ahead. Go.
Any surprises there last night with the unveiling of the new bracket and what it looked like? Any surprises?
No, only because you got to understand that they're no good at this, and so they're going to be inconsistent in their philosophy. The committee is, and they've got clear brand bias. They're going to favor bigger brands, and the evidence is where BYU and Indiana are ranked. If you looked at let's for example, Indiana's resume mirrors almost identical to last year's Georgia and Michigan resume at the exact same time of the first rankings. Georgia and Michigan both had strength of schedules that were 100 or lower. They had margins of victory that were 25 or above on average, and they did not have any ranked wins to that point. And yet they were ranked 2 and 3 in the first college football playoff poll. Why? Because we thought they were good to begin the year, and then they've got the major brand on the side of their helmet, or in Michigan's case, the wings on their helmet. Now, Indiana comes along with BYU, and they've got these resumes that, in Indiana's case, is equal to what we saw with Michigan and Georgia a year ago. And in BYU's case, is actually much better than what we saw a year ago with Michigan and Georgia. BYU has 2 top 20 wins. Their strength of schedule is in the 60s, not in the 100s. And yet, this committee has them ranked behind teams like Miami and Texas and Tennessee and Penn State. And none of those resumes really can line up with Indiana and with BYU. So the only surprise is that they continue to have a pretty substantial brand bias.
Well, to speak to that, though, Joel, like the committee in general and the way they go about picking the teams, you look at CU, like there's nobody that's more exciting from the standpoint of just, Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders and Travis. How much does that play into the committee's decision who should go and who should not go, even if they don't get to the Big 12 championship?
I don't think it shouldn't. It's supposed to not play in. I don't think that it will in Colorado's case. Colorado has to pick up some marquee wins. They don't really have those yet. they're going to have a chance, I would guess, over the next few weeks. I think a Texas Tech win on the road is going to be thought of very highly if they're able to win that game. And then they're going to need to win out. But let's face it, it's like people in that committee room are not going to value wins over Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State like they would for an Alabama or LSU over the other, or a Texas A&M potential victory over Texas, or even a Notre Dame victory over, like, let's say, a ranked Army team at this point who comes in at 25. So I don't think that they'll take into consideration who the coach is or what the PR is surrounding the program, and nor should they.
By the way, we got notice that the CU-Utah game is going to be a 10 a.m. start here at Folsom Field. Will one Joel Klatt be on that call?
I will. All scheduled, and it is set. I will be in Boulder next week, so I'm fired up for it. I just hope they can beat Texas Tech and maintain the momentum of the season.
Feel like a potential trap game for you right there?
I don't even know if it's a trap game as much as it's just a difficult game.
Okay.
Texas Tech is a good team, and this is a league in which you're going to play one-possession games. Colorado's just not going to blow Texas Tech out of the water, which means you're going to have to manage the game well. You got to protect the passer well. You got to take the crowd out of the game. Can you run the football like they did against Central Florida? All of those things. Colorado's not in a position where they can roll the helmets out there and just beat people because they're ranked now. That's a misnomer. And as anybody that has played this sport know, and you guys certainly know this, Stoke and Stink, is like the devil is in the details and the execution. If you don't go out there and take care of the urgency of the details and execution with which you need to play, you're going to get beat. It's certainly the case in the NFL level, and that's because of the parity at the NFL. And there is parity in the Big 12. So when you're in a one-possession game, man, it matters how you play in critical times. Do you win the field position battle? Are you penalized heavily or are you not penalized heavily? We've seen them at times, take some really poor penalties as far as unsportsmanlike go. So all of those things need to play out, and I think it's going to be a very tough game for them. Very tough game. I actually, right now, Colorado's favored by 3.5. I would take the points. Now, I think Colorado's going to win, but I think it's going to be like a 1 or 2 point spread.
Wow, yeah, tough place to play. You're coming off a bye also, which I don't really like, especially when you're playing pretty good football. Joel, what'd you make of the Broncos' performance against the Ravens on Sunday?
I'm sorry, say that again.
What did you take away from the Broncos' performance on Sunday against the Ravens?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of just what I said. If you don't show up with the urgency of the details and execution of what you need to play with, listen, I know that we can talk about a lot of things that went on in that game, but let me just tell you, when you give up 7 yards per carry, you don't win. Yeah, Stink, you know that. Like if I were to tell you as an offensive lineman, hey, you guys are going to run the ball for 7 a pop, you win the game. Of course. You lose the turnover battle by 1. You give up 7 a pop on the ground. It's over. I don't care if you got a rookie quarterback or not. I don't care really what's going on anywhere else in the game. You're not going to control the game. It's going to be difficult to beat that team, and that's why Baltimore handed it to Denver. That's the way I view it.
Hey, Joel, you spent some time in New Orleans with Sean Payton as the coach, and Bo Nix said something yesterday, and Mike got all giddy about it, and Brandon and I couldn't answer it. And so he was like, well, Joel's so much smarter than you guys, and you guys are just a bunch of dummies. And so, he said zero funnel. And it's a term I haven't heard. Obviously, Brandon and I know what zero coverage is, right? But what is zero funnel? So, Mike got all – I've never heard the term zero funnel. So
Joe, was he referencing a coverage?
Yes. It was the
I think so.
Yeah, guys, let me bring it up today. It was on the touchdown pass to Bo, and he talked about the funnel coverage, and they stumbled around and lumbered like bulls in china shops trying to talk about it. And I just said, hey guys, let's table this discussion until Wednesday when Klatt comes on and he can explain it. So go ahead.
Well, from what I remember, Sean liked to talk about low red zone coverage in terms of, is this a team that's going to be a man sticky team or a man funnel team? And the difference, and listen, this was a long time ago, but the difference being is, are they going to pass off crossing routes, or are they not going to pass off crossing routes? See, so there can be man with zone principles, and there can be, man with man principles. And funnel is when you get into the low red and you start getting crossers and you've got the second and third release kind of crossing, and you've got play action, and you got a guy running out into the flats. And now all of a sudden, if you're trying to play man sticky, your defenders have to cross. And so there's this idea that pre-snap in the structure of the offense, you've got number 1, number 2, number 3, and sometimes number 4. And I'm talking about free release possibilities to that side of the football. And that's how you match up. Like in man coverage, the corner has number 1. The safety has number 2. A linebacker or a nickel would have number 3. And in man sticky, he's going to stick with that guy. Wherever number 2 goes, based on the pre-snap alignment, I'm going to go with him. Now, man funnel, the way I remember it was, how do they release? I've got the number 1 release to me. I've got the number 2 release out of the backfield, and I've got the number 3 release out of the backfield. And what it did, it allowed the coverage in the low red zone more specifically to answer some of those crossing routes, and in particular from a play-action boot type of angle. And that funnel action would allow them to defend those routes and concepts to a better degree. So as an offense, we had to understand, is this a man sticky team, a pre-snap man team, or is it a man funnel team, a post-snap man team? But that could be a little bit different than the way that they talk about it now.
Right. So basically it's just like whether you're going to match based on who gets in your area or not. You're going to match before and just stick with them, or you're just going to match when they get into your zone type of thing.
Think about it like this. I'm either going to play man based on where you align or where you release. Yeah, so I've got, let's say you're the corner, and the number 1 release just like slams down inside and you get a fullback out into your face. Well, that's the number 1 release, to your side, and you're playing it from that. So you're funneling all the routes post-snap as they release past the line of scrimmage.
Joel, the Broncos didn't do much.
Are you feeling it?
Dude,
a little bit?
Man. I'm going to have to take a break. I took my shirt off during that.
Go ahead, Stoke.
Sorry,
Joel,
Stoke.
the Broncos yesterday didn't do a whole lot trade deadline. Traded away Baron Browning. Did you want to see them make a move offensively? Maybe get a running back, get a weapon for Bo, a wide receiver, tight end. Do you think they should have done something?
You wanted to say wide receiver, didn't you? Look, you tried to couch it behind the running back, but we're back here. You want a wide receiver, Stoke? Look at you. I love it.
Playmakers.
I mean, no. Like, I don't. We don't. Wide receivers are like they grow on trees.
That's
nowadays.
Not true.
Like.
That's not
true.
true.
It's totally true. It's totally true. It's totally true. Why did the Chiefs win the Super Bowl? Is it because they had a great wide receiver, Stoke?
Why did the Chiefs just go out and get DeAndre Hopkins if wide receivers don't matter?
Because he was available. Because
why did the Bills go out and get Amari Cooper?
Because the house is already built.
If
the structure is already built. So if you want to go out and get the blinds, like if you want to go out and paint the walls and get the blinds, that's fine. But until the structure is built and you're ready to go, then who cares about the rug? Even if it really ties the room together, you know what I mean, dude? So, like, I just don't believe in my core in like this idea that a team that is clearly in the structural process of building their roster, that they need to go and worry about the rug. And I mean, even let's just say it this way, like if the rug gets peed on, what are you going to do?
Stoke?
I've no idea. I mean, I'm saying I didn't want them to make a move for I don't think there was a receiver out there. It had to fit their model here of what they're trying to do, not only now, but for the future. But I do think that, they need to try to find a true number 1 wide receiver for Bo Nix.
I just totally disagree. I would much rather them go out and target a nose tackle, like a genuine run stuffer, to solidify the inside of the defense, because I think teams should be built front to back and inside out. I think if they were to go out and solidify the offensive line, solidify the defensive line, that's what makes you a really good team. That was the deficiency against, Baltimore. Hell, you could put Randy Moss out there on Sunday and the Broncos still lose. But if you give them like a really good nose tackle, Vea in his prime or something along those lines, Aaron Donald, like now you can maybe stop the run and you can be in the game. But like, what was the wide receiver going to do last week?
Well, I mean, I think they put the resources into the offensive line. I mean, they paid 4 out of 5 offensive linemen, and they put the resources in the defensive line. Sooner or later, you got to find some weapons for a quarterback. I mean, you're not going to develop a guy.
But they gave up 7 a pop on the ground.
Well,
so,
yeah,
like,
I mean, that's obvious.
Those resources ain't coming to fruition.
Well, yeah, I would like to stop the run. I mean, that's obvious, but I also would like to pay a little attention to the offense.
It's not about liking to. I don't want. Yeah, I know you would like to stop the run with Stoke, but
it's Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson.
That's the
you don't see Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson.
Children, stop it. Go ahead, Joel.
I would love a wide receiver. I have to stop the run. There's a difference. Like, you can't just say, like, yeah, I'd like to stop the run, but, like, that, no. Like, that's a prerequisite in order to be great to win a Super Bowl. So that's where I differ. I would love to have a great rug, and